got to be a bit concerned about where this is going.
Well, they're terrified, and the press is terrified. That's what shocks me. Of course she's worried. She doesn't have a message, and so she's losing, is my read. But the press shouldn't be taking sides. But they've decided that Trump is such a threat to them and to the country that nothing they can say about him qualifies as unfair. They are destroying their credibility. The New York Times has been around for 165 years, and in the past year, it has become totally discredited because the people working there have decided that they're no longer journalists, they're surrogates for Hillary. It's unbelievable.
One of the other big problems for the Clinton campaign recently has been the Clinton Foundation. And remember a few weeks ago we were talking about, guys, that fall campaign event, or that fall bash that they were going to hold for hundreds of thousands of dollars a plate, and whether or not they were actually going to cancel it because it was right before the debates. Well, no, it looks like it happened, and it was actually Bill's birthday, and it ended up being this big star-studded bash.
And a lot of money to get in.
Now, you went to this last night.
I did. It was wonderful.
It's at the Rainbow Room over at NBC.
So you paid for the most expensive one.
I was on the chair, so I had to pay $250K.
This is amazing. To get in, just to be clear, you were not there. $250,000 just to get a chair. That's a great chair. That better be a fantastic chair.
Well, they're also not announcing who these donors are.
What is a co-chair?
So this is like, I don't mean to laugh at it, but if this is the face of addiction. If you've ever known someone who's got, diabetes and keeps eating ice cream, or is an alcoholic and keeps drinking beer, this is the Clintons with fundraising. They know it's hurting them. They know the public distrusts them because they won't disclose who's giving them money and buying access with it. And yet, 55 days before a presidential election, they continue to do it. Why? They're not benefiting from this because they can't help themselves. Right. That's why.
Well, and Bill Clinton, who many were saying is going to be her biggest asset throughout this campaign, continues to be involved in headlines that have people scratching their head, saying maybe it's better if he just doesn't really speak out.
Does the foundation really need, 55 days before the election, do they really need to be raising money for the Clinton Foundation?
It's their last.
By the way, there was a piece this week, I don't know if you saw it, that said the sum total of money actually given to charity by the Clinton Foundation, less than 6%. Less than 6%. So all this money they're raising, where does it go? It doesn't go to the poor. It goes to the employees and the friends of the foundation.
Yeah. Well, I do think it gives Donald Trump a lot of material to focus on. His message is very different. He's going to be change in Washington. He's going to be something different than we've seen. He's got to focus on that. I mean, he's got to really be careful not to get off script at this point because, as we said, the polls are neck and neck.
You can tell right now what's happening. Now that Hillary Clinton's back from her pneumonia break, I mean, they're baiting him. They're waiting for him to make that flub again to change the headlines and have her poll numbers go back up again. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on this. We'll dive in.
Can I say one thing? How many people wouldn't vote for Trump if it weren't for the media? I know people are saying, you know what, Trump kind of makes me nervous, but the press is so out of control, I want to vote against them.
That's a good question.
Right. I think there are people out there like that.
Interesting. All right, we do have some headlines we want to get to this morning. And we do begin with a Fox News alert. 4 police officers shot down in the line of duty in 2 separate cities, Philadelphia and Fort Worth. First in Philadelphia, where Sergeant Sylvia Young was shot at least 8 times while chasing a suspect. Police say that suspect then shot 4 innocent people, as well as another police officer named Eddie Miller. Sergeant Young and Officer Miller expected, though, to be okay, and the suspect was shot dead. And in Fort Worth, Texas, 2 officers responding to a suicide call were shot and returned fire, killing that suspect. Both officers had surgery overnight and are expected to be okay as well. And terrifying moments on an Amtrak train as a man with a gun barricades himself inside the bathroom. The train ordered to stop just outside Los Angeles as SWAT teams cleared more than 100 people off the train. Police had to use tear gas to get the man into custody. Luckily, no one was hurt. And Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will be the only 2 candidates facing off in the first presidential debate. Libertarian Gary Johnson and Green Party nominee Jill Stein, they did not make the cut. They needed to poll at 15% or higher in an average of 5 polls to qualify. Well, Johnson only averaging 8.4% and Stein at 3.2%. Johnson making headlines just last week for asking, what is Aleppo?
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Well, the first debate is set for Monday, September 26th. And stunning images from across the world of the lunar eclipse lighting up the night sky. Look at that. The harvest moon is the full moon closest to the autumnal equinox, the rare sight seen around the globe overnight. This picture is from England, and this beautiful photo from England was taken from this is from Alabama, actually. If you missed it, you still have another chance to look up this evening. That is beautiful. But if you miss it, you'll have to wait another 8 years.
I love the harvest. I just want to get all of my crops.
I was in a plane coming into JFK last night, late night, and that moon lit up the Atlantic Ocean like I've never seen. It woke me up.
Like
I couldn't sleep last night with it. Oh, no, that's because of the baby. Sorry.
It was one or the other.
The moon, the baby, can't get it straight.
All right, still ahead. The NYPD officer attacked by a maniac with a meat cleaver is back home. This morning, we have new details on that. About his attacker. Was he about to be deported?
Not soon enough, apparently. Plus, the current electoral map gives Trump a narrow path to win the White House. Which states could put him over the top in November? We are mapping it out for you next. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back. Just 52 days until the election, and the latest polls showing the race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton closer than ever. But brand new Fox News polls out this morning taking a different approach. Now they're surveying likely voters instead of just registered voters. So are they more accurate? Here to weigh in is the Real Clear Politics founder, Tom Bevan. Tom, great to see you this morning. Likely voters, I know it sounds like a dumb, obvious question, but what exactly are likely voters?
Likely voters, it's a screen that pollsters put on their questionnaires to find out if who's likely to vote, and they do that usually by asking you if you voted in past elections. That's one of the biggest determiners of whether you're going to vote in this election. They can also ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, are you likely to vote, and you know, the only people who answer a 9 or a 10 are included in this likely voter screen. But most pollsters now are using this likely voter screen as we've approached the final stretch of this race. I think in our Real Clear Politics average, we have 10 polls, and 8 of them are using likely voter screens at this point.
All right, so let's take a look at the latest Fox News poll in this four-way presidential vote right now. With that margin of error, it's a dead heat right now. The Clinton camp has got to be worried about that.
Sure. I mean, we've seen this. The Fox poll and a number of other polls confirm that this race has tightened. It is very close, certainly at the national level. And then you look at some of these battleground states where Trump has actually moved ahead in some of the latest polls. And so this race is close, very close at this point.
Yeah, and even in a two-way race, Trump 46 to Clinton's 45. Let's take a look at the electoral map, because the roadmap, people saying, look, Donald Trump has to pick up a number of the Romney states, including the ones that he should probably have locked up, and pull off also a few of the Obama states. Where do you see him picking up the likely states here from President Obama?
So we've got about 10 states that were close in 2012 that are considered the battlegrounds. In 2012, Obama won 9 of the 10. This time around, obviously, he has to keep all of those, all the states that Romney won in 2012, and then add the big 3 are Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. If Trump could do that, he wins. He'll get to 270. That's his cleanest path to getting to 270. But not necessarily his easiest path. He's moved ahead in Florida. He's moved ahead in Ohio. But Pennsylvania is still, Hillary Clinton has a lead there of 3 to 5 points in the latest round of polls.
Okay, so if he does not win Pennsylvania, but he does pick up Florida and Ohio, what's the path then?
So he's got to make up those 20 electoral votes somewhere else. And where can he do that? Well, Nevada's one place where he's within a half point, or within 1 point of Hillary Clinton there. And then you look at states like Colorado's big. Iowa's a state where he's ahead right now. And, New Hampshire's another state where he's trailing by a few. But the path definitely gets trickier if he's not able to win Pennsylvania. He's going to have to cobble together those 20 electoral votes using a combination of the smaller states.
Yeah, places like Philadelphia, though, voted overwhelmingly for President Obama. Chances there, though. And the top part of the state could move Trump big time, so we'll see. Tom, great to see you this morning. Interesting to look at this map.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, coming up here on the show, a plot exposed to assassinate 2 members of Congress. Details about that would-be killer, the targets, and how he got caught. That's straight ahead. And Donald Trump has a hair-raising experience with Jimmy Fallon. Did you ever think you'd see somebody do that? Wow. But are late-night comedians more partisan than ever? Our very own comedian panel is here to discuss. Next.
We've got a quick look at your headlines this morning. First up, Samsung hit with its first lawsuit after more than a dozen of its phones exploded. No big deal. A Florida man says his Galaxy Note 7 burst into flames in his pocket last week, leaving his leg covered in third-degree burns. The phone is also thought to be the cause of this car fire. Wow. Speaking of cars, gas prices may soon go up on the East Coast because of a major gasoline spill. A leak in Alabama causing the closure of a crucial pipeline, one which runs from Houston to New York. Bet you didn't know it even existed, but it does. 6 states, including Tennessee and Georgia, now facing possible gasoline shortages. Service is not expected to be restored on that pipeline until next week. Abby?
All right, thank you, Tucker. Well, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both making appearances with Jimmy Fallon this week, but are late-night comedians more partisan than ever?
Just look at the extremely in-depth policy plan the Trump team came up with to fix Obamacare.
Repeal and replace with something terrific.
Something terrific? That's not a policy, that's a Frank Sinatra B-side.
Yes, all Muslims know what other Muslims are thinking. They're magical that way. Trump learned that from the documentary Aladdin.
George Wallace in a wig has yet another new campaign manager. Her job seems to involve crushing a Klonopin into his breakfast McFlurry, pointing him at a teleprompter and begging him to use his inside voice.
Here to discuss our comedian panel, Allison Breen, Ryan Reese, and Kyle Ocasio. Good morning to you three. Thanks for waking up so early.
Good morning.
Sure.
Good morning.
All right, so they've got a lot of material to work with this cycle. Kyle, are they more partisan than ever?
Sometimes they are, and I think that that's okay because there's a certain viewership that tunes into a specific comic and their views and they want to get more of it. But I think humor can be bipartisan, and it's really fun to knock both sides.
It seems like they want to say they're neutral, though, Ryan. They like to say that they are not on one side or the other. What's your take on this? How has this changed over time? Do you feel like right now it is more partisan than ever?
Well, Abby, first off, thank you for giving me the opportunity to look up the word partisan. Second off, Trump's just giving the material. He just puts so much out there constantly, and Hillary says nothing. So that's the shot you're going to take. I mean, Trump won't shut up, and Hillary can't stand up. I mean, I feel like...
But I'm bummed.
Come on. What is it? What is it? 6 in the morning?
Allison, do they have a job, though, to remain neutral? Because, you know, their audience is a mix of people, and a lot of people only get their news from comedians.
Yeah, that's the problem, I think, is that the cable networks, people act like they're journalists for some reason, but they're entertainers still, and so they're totally allowed to take sides and be funny and do whatever they want. But we're acting like they have these important opinions and they're influencing people, which maybe they are, but it's not their responsibility to or not to. It's probably the problem of the people if they're getting that easily influenced by a guy who throws buckets of water at people's heads for a living, telling them who to vote for, you know?
But that's why I think it's important to have this conversation about what their role is and how important it is for them to stay sort of bipartisan in an election cycle like this, Kyle. I mean, it used to be that there was one late-night comedian show, right? And now it's you can't get enough of it.
There's many. And I think that, like I said, though, I think that people want to hear more of, you know, for example, you tune into Samantha Bee. You know, she's very left-leaning and she has a following, and they want to hear what she has to say. And I think she has a right to throw her opinions out there. She's got her own show. But I do think, like, the more classic late-night stuff, like the Johnny Carson style, I think Jimmy Fallon's following that, and he certainly took a hit for doing the Trump thing with some of the left-wing people because they think that he might be responsible for showing a more vulnerable, playful side.
Well, let's get to that, because this week he went on Jimmy Fallon. We saw a side of him we don't always see of Donald Trump. So can we play a bit of that clip?
You say yes? Go ahead. With my hair.
Can I mess your hair up?
I'll be gentle. I'll be gentle. The answer is yes, but the people in New Hampshire, where I'm going to be in about an hour from now, I hope they're going to understand. Okay?
Who knew? Not a toupee after all this time.
Oh, hell no.
He made it clear. He's got a full head of hair there.
I'm just impressed anyone touched that thing. That looks like it might be alive.
Well, but Ryan, what impact does this have?
Well, this is all planned out. This is choreographed. There's no way anything's happening.
They produced this well in advance.
There's no way he's going on this show unless it's planned out and they prepared his hair for that.
But the viewers don't know that. All they see is someone that's being a little more vulnerable, being a little more playful.
Of course. But he knows that. I mean, Trump's a master showman. That's what he does. I mean, he releases medical records on Dr. Oz. I mean, like, that's...
It's the election cycle that we're in.
Yeah,
one's home with pneumonia. The other's releasing medical records on Dr. Oz, Allison.
Yeah, this just makes it more of a circus. It's already a circus as it is with the regular news outlets, and now this just takes it up a level, and people love to see it. I mean, and it's funny to me that it takes him an hour to fix his hair. Did anyone catch that? I hope the people in an hour in New Hampshire are ready
looking at the whole shake.
I just can't even imagine someone touching my hair. Like, do you know the gray that's covered, the frizz here? Like, oh Ryan, you'll have no teeth. Like, seriously, it's
all
crazy.
right. Well, we're going to have to leave it there, guys. Thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good day. Coming up, Hillary Clinton teams up with Michelle Obama to sway millennial voters, but the event didn't go exactly as planned.
I have to say, no.
Are millennials more interested in her than her? Then, protesting the national anthem now coming to a high school near you. Those students say it is justified. Hear them explain so you can decide yourself. And it is Oktoberfest here on our plaza, but the celebration is not just about the beer. It is about the food, too. We are getting a taste of some classics like brats and Wiener Schnitzel. Did I even say that right? That's next. Stick with us.
I saw that Hillary Clinton made her return to the campaign trail yesterday in North Carolina and walked out to the song I Feel Good. Then she saw the latest poll numbers and this started playing.
Well, there was some dancing this week, though, if you saw. While she was recuperating from pneumonia, President Obama was in Philadelphia in that blazing heat bath that was Philly the other day, doing that little knee bend dance, and he got that crowd moving. Well, then Michelle Obama came out and finally hit the trail. But the crowd reacted maybe a little differently than I think the Hillary Clinton campaign would want them to react, calling for 4 more years. Listen.
It is so hard to believe that it is less than 2 months to Election Day. And that my family is almost at the end of our time at the White House. Yeah, it's almost time. And let me say, I have to say, no.
You know, it's interesting.
Wow.
What do you say to that?
You know what?
If you're the First Lady, how do you respond to that moment?
I think she actually handled that pretty well. It's a really awkward situation to be in. But I think this highlights the biggest challenge that Hillary Clinton continues to have in this race is the lack of excitement that her supporters have.
And
this is Virginia.
I just can't take my eyes off this. I'm
right.
confused. Who is Michelle Obama? Is she this awesome wife and mom we're not allowed to criticize because she's so holy? Or is she another political hack who's fair game for us to comment? I mean, she said in her speech, we're going to be around for the rest of our lives advocating on your behalf. Are we going to get to criticize her, or will that be out of bounds?
I think she may even think about running herself.
Wow.
And then you can do whatever you want.
Hillary's totally better from her pneumonia. It's kind of amazing. It's almost magic. My wife had pneumonia a couple of years ago. She's a really healthy, big runner. She was out for like 3 weeks. I think most people with pneumonia are. But Hillary was up after like 20 minutes, and she's totally
fine. You know what? The eyes are going to be on her now. If she has a coughing attack, if she stumbles, I mean, everyone's going to be watching her like a hot. But can I just say in that moment, you know what it reminded me of with the 4 more years? And I hate to say this, but when Jeb Bush, you know, sort of the last stretch of his campaign for the last couple of weeks, when his brother George W. Bush got on stage and spoke to the audience in Texas, there was sort of all this excitement around the brother, when for all those years they talked about Jeb Bush being the one that really should have been president.
He's the impressive one.
In that moment,
it was not really.
Actually, George W. Bush was, you know.
Great point.
Can I say I don't believe this pneumonia stuff? I just don't. I'm sorry.
I know you're still thinking about it.
I am. I don't know what the truth is, but I can tell when I'm being lied to, and they're lying.
We do know their response to it was, you know, indigestion or overheated. What, you know, problems there. Remember Eisenhower?
Yeah,
had indigestion. Yeah, we didn't know for a
heart attack.
It was just a heart attack.
Yeah,
a little bit later.
All right. Well, we do have some headlines to get to as well this morning, and it turns out the man who slashed a cop in the face with an 11-inch meat cleaver in New York City was fighting deportation. Police say Akram Judeh, a Palestinian national, was in New York to appeal a deportation notice next month. Well, the off-duty detective who stopped Judeh before he was shot has been released from the hospital. 16-year police detective Brian O'Connell was cut from his temple all the way to his jaw. Well, a sinister plot to assassinate 2 congresswomen foiled by the FBI. Investigators arresting a Tennessee man who threatened to kill Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard and U.S. Senator Mazi Hirono in Hawaii. Police say the 35-year-old planned to fly to Honolulu on November 1st and opened fire in a courthouse. Apparently, he was angry over not receiving disability.
You know what? It feels like fall could be happening around the corner. It's starting to feel like that, at least, although temperatures today are going to be a little bit above average.
Cooler. It feels like fall, finally.
It does a little bit. It's coming. Here you go. Here's your temps for the next few days. D.C., Philly, and New York, for the most part, just a little bit above average. Tomorrow, in fact, quite a bit above average for pretty much everybody. So fall wants to come, but it's not going to happen very quickly. As you're waking up this morning, the eastern part of the country, we are still feeling much warmer out across the west, especially in the higher elevations. It gets a little bit chillier. 45 right now in Denver. You can see some rain. A very slow-moving system, though, has been pulling across the plains. Brought some flooding conditions across southwestern Missouri yesterday. I don't think the flooding is going to be as much of a story today, but just lingering showers as this front moves on. Tomorrow it'll bring much beneficial rain in across parts of the Northeast, so get ready for that. Temperature-wise, today still feeling like summer down across the South, 91 in Little Rock. I tell you what, Atlanta, all across the South, it has been so incredibly hot, and the heat hangs on for a lot of this coming week, so get ready for the 90s once again. All right, Clayton, Tucker. Clayton, looks like you have a drink there.
Oh, yeah, this is how...
It's never too early.
You got to kick the morning off like
because it's Oktoberfest. It's happening a half a world away in Germany, but we're having our own party, of course. We celebrate every holiday here on the Plaza.
And Tucker, it's not just about the beer.
Yes, it is.
It's also about the brats. Here to give us a taste of some of the German food you'd see at Oktoberfest are chefs Bill Gross and Oliver Keegan from the Jaeger House Gastropub and Beer Garden. Nice to see you guys this morning.
Gentlemen, how early is too early for the beer if you're German?
It's never too early.
Never too early. I knew you were going to say that. I just wanted to hear it out loud.
So Oktoberfest, what is Oktoberfest? We get people who yell all the time like, it's not October yet. Like, come on. No, you know what Oktoberfest is all about.
Got a celebration of the harvest out in Germany that's been going on for years. It started out as one celebration, and they had such a great time. They continued doing it year after year, and it just kept growing and growing, and now it's a tradition that it is today. It's
and in Germany,
awesome
even the
time.
3-year-olds drink beer.
So beer itself is a celebration of the harvest of grain, right? I mean, that's...
Yes, absolutely.
Huh. So what do you eat?
So we have a selection here. So Ollie's going to talk to you about
that.
We
have our Jaeger House goulash, which is a beef stew with 3 different types of paprika.
So this is like an appetizer.
Yes, that's an appetizer. We also do it with as an entree over spätzle and green beans.
Oh, yeah.
We have imported pretzels from Bavaria. We come with 3 different dipping sauces, a spicy Dusseldorf mustard, beer cheese, and a sweet mustard.
The beer cheese.
That's ridiculous.
Did you bring any of that this morning?
Those are not crab cakes, are they?
No, those are our potato pancakes, and we serve that over rosemary cream with fresh applesauce. And next to that one is our potato croquettes, which is garlic mashed potatoes with some Gruyere cheese and a roasted tomato aioli.
You guys are out of control.
And some smoked apple bacons in that also.
And then, of course, everything comes down to the brats.
Yes.
Is that the schnitzel there? Is that chicken?
No, that's spätzle. That's an egg dumpling.
So since we're Americans, we're more about volume than quality. How many brats have you ever seen someone eat at once?
We have one gentleman that comes in all the time. He'll eat two pretzels to start, and then he'll go into a good plate like this.
And how many beers does he have?
Probably about 3 or 4 liters.
3 or 4 liters?
Can I get a spoon? I'd like to try some of this goulash. I want to have some goulash. What are you in the mood for? You want to down a brat?
Yeah, I'll take a bite in the commercial break. And really quickly, if you were to pick all the beers, starting with Dinkel Acker, I love the name, winding up with Hofbrau Munchen, what would be your favorite as a breakfast beer?
I've been drinking the Hofbrau Oktoberfest now. That's in season.
Hofbrau is delicious.
And it is, that is my breakfast beer.
That is your breakfast beer?
It's light, too. It's not too heavy.
Yes, it is.
Gotta go with the Stiegel Radler. You got grapefruit juice in there, so it's justified for breakfast.
Is that a Stiegel Radler?
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
are a tribute to Germany.
Thank you.
We're going to be doing some dancing a little bit later. We have the polka band out here for Oktoberfest. Abby is going to be out here dancing.
Yes, she is. Don't miss that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thanks, guys.
Never too early for some German beer. Thanks, guys. All right, Hillary Clinton back on the trail after her health scare, but can she recover from this?
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic.
Lee Carter is here testing the dials. That is coming up next. Stick with us.
Donald Trump on the road this week campaigning as Hillary Clinton makes a comeback after being sidelined by a health scare of indeterminate origin. So what do voters think about the latest campaign ads and talk? Pollster Lee Carter has put some of the biggest moments of the dial test. She joins us now with the results. Great to see you, Lee.
Great to be here.
So what are voters thinking?
Voters are really polarized, and the Trump supporters are galvanized, and Republicans are really getting more and more energized because of the attacks that Hillary's been launching.
Yeah, so the deplorable speech has really kind of defined the last 10 days.
It sure has. Well, voters are really responding strongly to this, and I think it's backfired on her. I think we're seeing a lot of, you can see on the Twitter activity, people are really embracing the fact that they're a deplorable, and I don't think that's the intention she expected to have.
Let's watch the tape and be reminded of what she said.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
I lost track of the yellow line.
You sure did, and yellows are independents, and they're really, really critical. They gave it an F. Republicans also gave an F, not that surprising. Democrats only gave this a C, and usually when they attack the opponents, they would resonate, but it did not. What people are saying is you don't attack their supporters if you're going to attack their opponent. At best, this made her look like an elitist. At best. At its worst, it made people say, you know what, I can tell she doesn't even like people. Unless they agree with her, she looks down on people. And this has really made Trump supporters and a lot of Republicans who weren't otherwise Trump supporters say, you know what, she doesn't even like people. Why would I trust her to represent me?
They may be onto something. So Trump went after her stamina this week. Watch.
In this beautiful room that's 122 degrees, it is hot, and it's always hot when I perform because the crowds are so big. These rooms were not designed for this kind of a crowd. I don't know, folks. You think Hillary would be able to stand up here for an hour and do this?
So they liked the first part.
They did.
They didn't seem to like the second part.
They didn't love the second part. So Republicans and independents gave it a C+, Democrats a D-. Not all that surprising. Attacks don't usually test well, but here's the thing. As much as you can say he's got more discipline now, his attack there was pretty disciplined. And it was very, it's something that people are talking about, but he didn't have to go after her health that much. He rather implied it, and it's something that's sticking, and it's, it's Donald Trump at being Donald Trump.
Interesting. So here's an attack on her that was a little more pointed and precise, maybe even scripted. It's about welfare. Watch this.
Not one single idea she's got will create one net American job or create one new dollar of American wealth for our workers. The only thing she can offer is a welfare check. That's about it.
Huh, so how'd that do?
Yeah, so you can see Republicans and independents, they liked it, gave it a B or a C. Democrats, not surprisingly, didn't. They give it more like a D. But the thing is, he's really going after her now for being ineffective. A little bit different than his crooked slant that he's been doing. Yeah. He's really trying to prove that, yes, she might be experienced, but she's not been effective at it, and she's not got the depth that everybody's talking about. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going into the debates.
Interesting. That is a change in focus. Is. The great Lee Carter.
Thanks.
Great to see this.
Great to be here.
Coming up next, Hillary Clinton's camp and the mainstream media up in arms about Donald Trump's latest gun comments.
I think that her bodyguards should drop all weapons. They should disarm.
So the New York Times suggests he's calling for her assassination. Is that right, or is it completely unhinged and insane? Governor Mike Huckabee here to react, top of the hour. And will John Kasich stick to his pledge and vote for Trump? What the Ohio governor just said about the presidential race that will blow your mind. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. So September 15th marked the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we are celebrating the many contributions Hispanics have made to the United States.
And Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis will be highlighting an influential person each week for the next month, and today he has a preview for us. Nice to see you, Brian.
Hey, it's nice to see you. Good morning. It is such a fun time right now to be talking about just the contributions of amazing Hispanic Americans, and we're going to be covering this for the next 3 weekends. Every Saturday we're going to bring you a profile, and one of those profiles is Javier Palomares, who is the president and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. His story is incredible. He was born in South Texas, and at one point he spent a year on the streets, homeless, living in the back of a restaurant. And now he is the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, making sure that Hispanic small businesses have a voice in D.C. and throughout. Take a listen, just as part of our interview that's coming up.
My summers, particularly in the formative years, were spent working in fields with my family. Not a lot of good memories in my summers, but I'm not alone in that regard. There's a lot of guys my vintage that had very tough years. Got thrown out of plenty of restaurants, and migrant farm worker in Indiana, and you don't even speak the language. So I do my best not to think about those times, but they feed me today.
And that's the point, is that his upbringing and his experiences feed him today, and that's an important point because he's also somebody who's changing the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for the first time. It's actually becoming a political organization and has actually backed Hillary Clinton for president, and the Chamber has never done that, so we'll get into that too. Two other profiles we're going to be discussing. Daniel Lebetsky, he's the founder of Kind Bars. His father was a survivor of the Holocaust, moved to Mexico City when he was just 15 years old, and Daniel Lebetsky ended up growing up in Mexico Mexico City in a small Jewish community, and he came here and he was inspired by his father to start Kind Bars, which is the fastest growing U.S. snack bar company in the country right now. And then we also have Ozzie Aru. Ozzie Aru was a security guard for Warner Brothers on the set of Friends, and then all of a sudden he ended up becoming the president of Tyler Perry Studios, a company that's worth nearly $1 billion. The Tyler Perry, one of the most successful movie moguls out there, and we discuss how he got there as well.
Such incredible
three
stories.
Fantastic profiles. Look, Hispanic Americans are one among the fastest, and it's the largest minority group, but it's a very new immigrant group here in the country for many people, and for the last 3 decades they've contributed in ways that we want to highlight, and this is a great way to do that.
I know 2 out of the 3 guys you profiled.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Yeah, they are. They're fantastic.
Look forward to that, Brian. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excited about it.
And tune into Fox and Friends next Saturday for the interview with the founder of Kind Snacks. Thanks so much, Brian. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks.
All right. Well, Donald Trump says Hillary's bodyguards should disarm.
I think that her bodyguards should drop all weapons. They should disarm.
Well, he was talking about Hillary's stance on guns, but the left says he's inciting violence. Governor Mike Huckabee joins us live to react to the media hysteria next.
So how is Hollywood reacting to John Voight's support for Donald Trump, the Academy Award winner? He's joining us next. Good morning. It is Saturday, September 17th. I'm Abby Huntsman, and this is a Fox News alert. Police officers ambushed a gun-toting madman opening fire, shooting an officer nearly a dozen times. The breaking details coming in overnight.
Plus, Donald Trump says Hillary Clinton's bodyguards should disarm.
I think that her bodyguards should drop all weapons. They should disarm.
He was talking about hypocrisy, of course. She wants guns to protect her family, but you don't get them to protect yours. But the press says he was calling for her assassination for real. Governor Mike Huckabee on deck to react to that.
And we've gotten thousands of emails from across the country telling Tucker that he needs to loosen up. What's the best cure for a sore neck? Your home remedies put to the test next. I have no idea what that means. He's pretty loose to me. Fox and Friends Hour 2 starts right now.
Guys, it's Oktoberfest.
I love
Here
it.
on the plaza.
The celebration of the harvest. Have you get out to tend to your field this morning? Oktoberfest, of course, it takes place in Munich. But
In your lederhosen?
In my lederhosen, I love it.
There's literally not a holiday in the world that we will not celebrate on the plaza. I think next week is Ghana Independence Day, and we'll be having the appropriate food for that. But this week, it's Oktoberfest, ladies and gentlemen.
Get your Wiener Schnitzel. Get your beer.
And we're going to be dancing. We're going to be doing it all.
It's the best.
I love the lederhosen.
And they're literally drinking beer on the plaza right now this morning. And they're not embarrassed about it either.
And they have a big parade. It's the Steubenville parade. It's going to be going all the way up.
Starting at noon today, right?
At noon, goes up to Central Park, and then they have the big Oktoberfest celebration in Central Park today. So
fantastic.
They're here first.
It's a good time, and the music just makes you want to dance. 7 a.m. It does.
It doesn't really, but it makes you want to watch.
Here today.
Abby Huntsman, great to see you.
It's good to be here with you guys. All right, well, now to the race for the White House, and Donald Trump unveiling a new campaign theme in Miami, while Hillary Clinton desperately tries to stir up controversy about her opponent.
So what in the world's going on? Oh, Garrett Tenney knows. That's why we're going to him live from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Garrett.
Good morning, Tucker, Clayton, and Abby. Enthusiasm has not been an issue for Donald Trump's campaign, even before Hillary Clinton called his supporters a basket of deplorables. And while that comment appears to be hurting her in the polls, it certainly served as a rallying call for Trump's supporters. And the campaign is fully embracing it as well. At a rally in Miami last night, Trump took the stage to a song from the Broadway musical Les Miserables, or Les Miserables, as they say in French. And during that rally, Trump again went after Hillary Clinton for her stance on gun control, repeating the claim that she'll take away people's guns if she's elected, while at the same time being protected by armed bodyguards 24/7. Well, he's now facing some blowback from the Clinton campaign and many in the mainstream media for encouraging an assassination attempt, as they described it. Take a listen for yourself.
I think that her bodyguards should drop all weapons. They should disarm. Right? Right? I think they should disarm. Immediately. What do you think? Yes? Yes. Yeah. Take their guns away. She doesn't want guns. Let's see what happens to her. Take their guns away. Okay? It'd be very dangerous.
Now, instead of explaining that in reality Clinton has said she does not plan to take away people's guns, her campaign responded much like it did last month after Trump made similar comments by labeling him as dangerous, saying in a statement, Donald Trump has a pattern of inciting people to violence. Whether this is done to provoke protesters at a rally or casually or even as a joke, it is an unacceptable quality in anyone seeking the job of commander-in-chief. If you look at the latest poll numbers, there's good reason the Clinton camp is doing everything it can to change the narrative from her health, her family's foundation, and to her numerous email scandals. The latest Real Clear Politics average shows Clinton is leading Trump nationally by just 1.5 points. To put that in perspective, 2 weeks ago, she was ahead by 6. Abby, Tucker Clayton.
Wow. Thanks, Garrett. Tenney, this morning we had to pry the New York Times out of Governor Huckabee's hands. It's the paper that he loves to read every morning.
And that was a tough pry.
It really was tough. Governor, good to see you this morning. One of the tear-outs from this, the comments by Donald Trump about guns was, we'll read this for you. Donald J. Trump once again raised the specter of violence against Hillary Clinton, suggesting Friday that the Secret Service agents who guard her voluntarily disarm to see what happens to her without their protection. Basically, other media outlets saying he's calling for an assassination.
Well, that's utter nonsense. I mean, he's not calling for anything like that. What he's saying is he's pointing out the absolute Hillary hypocrisy that we see every day. Guns for me, good thing. Guns for you, bad thing. She's been surrounded by people who are heavily armed since the 1970s with just that little 2-year slip when her husband wasn't governor. But think about that. Since 1978, she's been surrounded by people who have protected her with what? With their fist or with a notepad, writing a note and saying, don't hurt her. No, people with guns.
Right.
So why? What's the danger? Well, if she faces danger, maybe a lot of other people living in tough neighborhoods face danger. Should they not be able to protect themselves? Disarming law-abiding citizens doesn't make sense to law-abiding citizens.
But isn't it of a piece with her general worldview? I mean, she lectures us on diversity and sends her own daughter to Sidwell. She lectures us on the importance of universal health care. She's not in an exchange. She's got a private doctor. She lectures us on our carbon footprints, and she flies private. Like, it's a whole laws for you, not for me worldview, is it not?
But that is, in essence, what people are so disgusted about by politicians. It's the great unwashed should not feel that they have a role in saying what they want out of their government. And Hillary and those around her, the swells, the people who paid $250,000 to go to the foundation dinner and throw even more money at the feet of the Clintons, they're the swells. They're the ones that we should all be so grateful for, that they tell us how to live, even though they don't live like the rest of us do. It's really amazing.
It does seem like a bit of desperation that we're seeing from Hillary Clinton and her camp. I mean, we just heard from Garrett Tenney about the polls, and you look at the trend lines, and you were just showing me this on Real Clear Politics, and where things are moving, and you see a real trend up for Donald Trump just within the last 2 or 3 weeks. What is going on? What is changing things in this short period of time?
Well, Hillary is very programmed. There's no excitement to one of her rallies. I mean, I've made the comparison. If you go to a Donald Trump rally, it's like going to an Aerosmith concert. I mean, it's just wild. It's incredible. You go to a Hillary rally, and they have to go out there and try to, pump them up artificially.
That's why they're booking smaller venues, because they're concerned it's not going to be full.
Yeah, and they get some mannequins and stuff them in the chairs. It's like going to a wake. Everyone's very respectful. Everybody's quiet. I mean, it's just a dramatic difference in terms. There's no enthusiasm. People are saying rah rah Hillary, but they don't feel it.
I was struck by the response though, because the Clinton camp came out and responded and said, this is Donald Trump temperament. He's unhinged, and there was supposed to be this shift after her pneumonia break.
Yeah,
that she was going to come out and talk about.
Can we put air quotes around pneumonia?
I was about to, but I stopped. I'll let you put it.
I will.
She, after the pneumonia break, she comes out and said, I'm going to be talking about the family. It's a lighter tone, nicer tone. And then they go right back to attacking Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything she said this week was about Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I hope she continues that, because that'll ensure Donald Trump is the next president. People don't care what Hillary thinks about Donald Trump. They care what Hillary thinks about getting them jobs back. They care what, Hillary might do to finally confess and own up to the responsibility she's had from everything from Syria policy to Benghazi. I mean, but we're never going to hear that, because this is a very secretive operation. We're never going to hear about the money laundering, the Trini Lopez, if I had a hammer and I busted every phone. There's going to be this constant wall of secrecy, and I think people are tired of that. They want somebody who's spontaneous, who has some joy, who has some fun. Look, whatever else you want to say about Donald Trump, when he goes to that podium, He's having fun. And one thing I've learned about public speaking, if the speaker's having a good time, the audience will.
That is totally true. Right?
If the speaker looks like they drank vinegar for breakfast and swallowed a curtain rod, then the audience will look like they drank vinegar and swallowed a curtain rod.
Are you giving him advice? What, 52 days left to go? What are you telling him in this home stretch?
Have a good time. Be yourself. Don't go out there. You know, the biggest danger to Donald Trump is being surrounded by people who tell him, do this, be careful, don't
And
say.
you know that from running yourself.
The biggest danger is having a bunch of people who have never been on the stage telling you what to do when you get on the stage. And that's one of the dangers of a campaign that has too many people. A lot of them don't have enough to do, so they think it's their job to tell the candidate how to act, how to talk, what not to say. Look, Donald Trump got here by being Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs to continue having a good time, relaxing, being himself. That's what won him the primary, and it's what's going to win him the election.
So I want to ask you about a documentary that you're involved in called Targeting, Exposing the Gun Control Agenda. Gun control is sold to the public by the left as a way to keep us safe, but there's clearly something else going on here. It's not simply about keeping us safe. That's been long my suspicion. What does this documentary expose about the real agenda?
It's a great documentary. I was interviewed for it. That's the role that I had in it. But it's a documentary in which a young millennial sets out to ask the question, should we have gun control? Would it help? Would it stop the Sandy Hooks and the Auroras? And it's a very honest and objective look. I think every American would really benefit by seeing it because it's filled with facts and, exposes the hypocrisies, exposes the fallacies that are often put. But I think it's especially helpful for people who say, if we could just save one life, if we can enact these gun control measures. Here's an example. More people every year are killed by hammers in the U.S. than are killed by rifles. Now, that's just a statistical fact.
I've never heard that before. Interesting.
It's true. So, when people say we've got to get these rifles stopped, okay, that's fine. But we're not going to stop the murders of people. And it really exposes the lies, the mistruths, and the hypocrisy of the left. It's a great documentary.
You're making me want to pick at Home Depot, just hearing that.
I think we should.
They sell hammers without any kind of background check. They sell these deadly devices, and there's no background check. When will it stop, Governor? When will it stop?
It's good to have you here this morning.
Thank you. Great to be here. Go see the movie. It's very, very informative, targeted. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Great to see you.
All right, we do have some headlines that we want to get to you this morning. We start with a Fox News alert. 4 police officers shot down in the line of duty in 2 separate cities, Philadelphia and Fort Worth. First in Philadelphia, where Sergeant Sylvia Young was shot at least 8 times while sitting in her squad car. Luckily, she survived. The shooter tried to get away, but not before opening fire on another officer and 4 civilians before he was shot dead in an alley. Well, he left a note leading investigators to believe he was targeting police and on purpose. And in Fort Worth, Texas, 2 officers were shot while responding to a suicide call. They returned fire, killing the suspect. Both officers had surgery overnight and luckily are expected to be okay. Well, more bombshells revealed this morning and emails leaked from former Secretary of State Colin Powell, this time claiming Israel has hundreds of nuclear weapons pointed at Iran. In an email to a close friend, Powell writes, quote, "The boys in Tehran know Israel has 200 all targeted on Tehran and we have thousands." Well, the White House says those numbers are estimates and that the retired general hasn't been briefed on that situation. Well, blasting his way into history, a daredevil rockets over the Snake River Canyon just like his hero, Evel Knievel. Whoa, could you imagine that stuntman Eddie Braun successfully soaring over the Idaho George in front of a cheering crowd. He says he wanted to carry out the legacy of Evel Knievel, who failed at making the jump, that very same jump, back in the 70s. Tucker, I thought you could do that.
I think I could do that.
Doesn't it just seem like someone who could do...
Oh, yeah. Get him in an airplane.
I don't think I can make it across, but I'd be willing to try. Well, the top issue this election, illegal immigration. A damning new report reveals the true story. It has been covered up by the White House, but we have the details, so stay tuned for that.
Plus, Hillary Clinton has been called many things. Now you can add fashion icon to the list. The liberal elites have spoken.
Just 52 days until the presidential election, and this country's immigration policy remains front and center in the race for the White House. A new report says the Department of Homeland Security is sitting on information that may prove the White House lied about numbers, making the border seem more secure than it actually is. Here to weigh in, a man who actually knows the details of this, conservative commentator, El Conservador, George Rodriguez. George, great to see you this morning.
Thank you very much.
So give us the outline here. The U.S. government has information that we are privy to. It's our government. We paid for the collection of this information, but it hasn't been disseminated. Why?
Well, I think, like in all things, the White House is playing politics. The White House likes to play politics with and manipulate facts and figures, and this is, once again, their game. What they're trying to do is show or claim that they are deporting people, when in actuality we that live on the border, that see the border on a regular basis, know that that's not true. We talk to Border Patrol. We talk to nonprofits that deal with illegal aliens coming across. We talk with folks that own property on the border, and we know the tsunami of illegal aliens that are coming across. Nevertheless, we also know that the numbers of deportations, it's just not there. We know people are being released after being processed, whatever that means. They are being released and they're being put on buses and sent throughout the United States. But as far as deportation and actual numbers being reported of people that are being picked up, that's just not true.
So, George, if I can just correct you, use the term illegal alien, which is deeply offensive to Hispanics. So if you could just apologize, maybe later in the show. I want to put up some... Yeah, I'll do that. I can't wait. I want to put up some numbers on the screen here for our viewers. The official Department of Homeland Security deportation rate is 81%. The reported rate, which is apparently being withheld from us, is actually just 51%. That's a massive difference. It's a 30-point difference. That's lying, isn't it?
It's absolutely lying. I mean, you know, but that's nothing new to this administration. I mean, we could talk emails, couldn't we? This situation that we've got with illegal immigration, and that's what it is. It's people entering without permission into the United States. And this situation that we've got has been escalating for the past 20 years, and it's been out of control completely and totally under this administration. This administration has fanned illegal immigration by rewarding illegal immigrants that come into the United States, illegal aliens that come into the United States. You can't reward bad behavior because you only get more bad behavior.
What's interesting is that the people who feel this most acutely are the people who live near where it's happening on the borders. Regardless of their political party or ethnic background, they see the effect on the country of our failed policy every single day. Do you think that's part of the problem, that our policymakers live so far from where it's actually happening?
Oh, definitely. They are so far removed. I mean, it's typical. You know, they're in Washington, and they go to their little brunches, and they don't see the impact of people crossing your property, people competing for your jobs, people coming into the United States illegally and behaving criminally. One of the fascinating things that has been ignored by the mainstream media are that several counties, several heavy Democratic counties, heavy Hispanic Democratic counties along the border voted in the Republican primary overwhelmingly for Trump.
Yes, I saw that, which is amazing. Mr. Rodriguez, great to see you. El Conservador.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Well, he's one of Trump's so-called deplorables. So how is Hollywood reacting to Jon Voight's support for the Republican nominee? The Academy Award winner joins us next. Stay tuned for that.
So a pro-Trump super PAC is rolling through some of campaign 2016's most contested states, opening offices and registering voters. Great America PAC invited along a VIP list, and that includes actor Jon Voight to ramp up Trump's ground game. Oscar-winning star and Trump supporter Jon Voight joins me right now. Sir, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Abby.
So you are out on the road. Tell us what you guys are up to. You're with a number of Trump supporters, some other famous ones. Who is driving you nuts, first of all?
Who is driving me nuts?
On the bus, because you guys are all crammed together, right?
Oh, yeah. But, you know, we do get along. We have Mike Gallagher, you know, the happy conservative warrior, who's terrific, by the way. And Hugh Hewitt, Dennis Prager was with us. And we've had Sheriff Dave Clark, who's been just wonderful. The team of us get along very well. We each, you know, we have our own way. We're different personalities, and we know how to feed each other and set each other up, and we really listen to each other because we're impressed with each other too.
So
Move
fun.
by each other, and we have a lot of laughs too.
I love that. When we talk about polling, we can talk about the latest controversy on the campaign trail, but ultimately it comes down to who gets out to vote, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're traveling around to some of the swing states, right, trying to get people registered to vote.
That's exactly right. And we're meeting a lot of great people. I mean, the fun of this tour is to meet the people, you know, and the people have been very welcoming, of course. And we've had a lot of fun with them. The thing that impressed me as we go around is that everybody's up. You know, these people are very informed voters, and they're enthusiastic. There's a lot of great energy. So, and the people, and we're addressing things that when I bring up something, if I make a joke even, everybody gets it. We're all pretty much on the same level.
So why is Trump your guy? Why do you like Trump?
Well, for a lot of reasons, but I was driving here today with a fellow Charlie, and I said, Charlie, why are you for Trump? And he said, well, he's not afraid to say the things that need to be said and do the things that need to be done. You know, we got a lot to fix. Well, that's basically it. We have a lot to fix, and if we can't, and he said we can't. If we get the other side, we're going to get more of the same and worse. He said we got to start fixing things.
So
and
you
that's
are
basically it. And this is a guy that fixes things. I mean, look what he's done in his life. That's all he's done is take impossible tasks and gather around himself very, you know, the real bright guys. Listen to them. Chart his way through these things, and then go and, you know, hire lots of people, put a lot of people to work, and get them done.
Well, as Hillary Clinton has said recently, you are in the basket of deplorables. What is your response to that, and how is Hollywood taking this?
Well, the deplorables are terrific, by the way, Abby. They're great.
It's a hidden secret, huh?
They're the best. The people are great. I'm telling you, they're really, really great. And what's wonderful too is, you know, if you listen to them, just like Charlie in the car today, Charlie Mano, they're very smart. You know, they have a lot of business experience, and they'll tell you things about, you know, we can't be. You don't. If you want business to be created, you don't disincentivize. You incentivize. That's what Charlie told me. I said, yeah, that's exactly it. It's real simple stuff, but people have to know this stuff, you know, and that's what's going on. So I'm having a good time.
So I want to get your thoughts. Fox News has a new poll out, and in one of the polls it shows that the American people think that the country is going to hell in a handbasket. You can see there 57% say it's a hell in a handbasket compared to 38% saying that things are all right. What is your response? Are you surprised by that?
Well, you know, people in every family, I think people are affected. They understand. In my own family, there are people who want to start businesses. And they can't do it because of the regulations. They give up after 2 months of, you know, paperwork and nonsense and being, you know, bothered by every kind of signatures on this and this and this and requirements and go to lawyers and stuff. You can't do this, guys. That's in my own experience. So everybody has a little of that. And when people say, well, they have more jobs, but the jobs are not the jobs that they would love to do, that they need to do. They're jobs that make do. They're part-time jobs. The economy's not good, and everybody knows it.
Well, and that's
so
why
that's the reason for those polls.
Yeah, that's why this election is so important for so many people. But thanks for being with us this morning, John, and enjoy the rest of your road trip. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Abby.
Coming up, a shocking confession from a Gitmo detainee, what he claims about the 9/11 attacks. Plus, we've gotten thousands of emails from across the country telling Tucker he needs to loosen up a bit. What is the best cure for a sore